Welcome into Rounding the Bases Live, presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Hashtag no stopping you. Happy Monday to you all. Episode number 91. I've mentioned it before that trying to settle into that 9 a.m. slot most days. But with the adjustments and really the reason I moved it to 9 was knowing that even with a day game for baseball, still be able to do 9 o'clock. With that said, we'll have some moving parts. And my guest today is very flexible, so I really appreciate that. But with some of these different meetings, when we go to the ballpark for baseball, most of the work that we do, people ask how early. Why do you get there so early? Well, it's to talk to the players, the managers, and all these people that nobody sees, not even actual interviews, but how we get our knowledge. And that's all happening throughout the course of a day on Zoom right now. So, at any given moment, it's planned out, but those guys have schedules too. So it could be, hey, 15 minutes, we can get so-and-so for you. So it's been a juggling act, and one that I think a lot of people can relate to, of being nimble and adjusting to these times. I can't thank the Royals enough for how good they have been at giving us access from a distance when we're so used to being there in person. So that's been a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that we can continue it up. The pandemic is certainly wreaking havoc with baseball right now, just as it is with so many people's lives. I do want to thank Kansas City Audio Visual, my friends at KCAV, for helping me with the studio. Still a work in progress and trying to get the lighting figured out and all of that, but certainly a nice upgrade from working out of that little 4x6 closet that I was for a few months. So it's good to be in the KCAV studios, and it is good right now to visit with my friend. One word to describe Ron Ruth: wow. I see it right over his. I love it though. Simple. 3 syllables to describe Ron Ruth. Ron, Ruth, wow. I mean, we're keeping things simple there, my friend.
Well, that's my goal in life, Joel, especially for you. I want to keep things as simple as I possibly can, because I know right now you've got a very busy life trying to keep up with what the Royals are doing and trying to do it from here and with them there. And it's got to be crazy for you right now.
It is, but I always tell people I work just as hard as everybody else. You work just as hard as me. I'm just, everybody sees what I do. That's the difference.
True. Yeah.
And it's, look, these are crazy times for everyone. But to let people know, Ron has a lifetimes of experience in customer experience, but he also has what we're into maybe the 4th decade now of experience in the wedding industry. And that's really interesting to me, because I don't think people are stopping getting married, but the receptions and the experience might be different. But Ron's also a member of the National Speakers Association. We're both in that together. I'm a newer guy at this than Ron is, so he's a keynote speaker, and there's so much knowledge here. But let me start with this, Ron. Explain the wow over your shoulder.
Well, what I do is I teach small business owners how to speak fluent wow, which is the language of the high-spending, loyal, raving customers they want to attract to their business most. So that's the premise behind the wow. I mean, we all love when we walk into a business and somebody treats us so special, and we feel important, and we feel valued, and we feel like, they designed an experience specifically for us. And we leave those businesses and we go, wow, I mean, that I wasn't expecting that. I can't wait to go back and do business with them again, and tell your friends about it as well. So that's what the wow stands for behind me.
Well, and when it comes to customer experience, it's all about wow. I was recently explained to me, and I'm newer in the business side of things and have all the lifetimes worth of broadcasting, but I think about customer experience. That's very much what we're about on TV.
Right.
But there is a difference between customer service and customer experience, although they both can. Customer service can be a part of the customer experience. But when I think about what we do every single day on TV and bringing games and entertainment into people's households, that's providing that wow, right? That's providing that experience.
Exactly. Well, and the difference between customer service and customer experience: customer service is doing what's necessary. It's answering the phone. It's responding to emails in a timely manner. It's going through the motions of the things for customers. Customer experience is all about how you make the customer feel during each and every one of those interactions. It's an emotion. It's built on customer experience is built on a foundation of emotion, how the customer feels. You were talking about what you do on air and how that might impact. I got a great Royal story if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
about
please.
other. Okay, so if you recall, which I'm sure you do, last season, opening day last season, there was supposed to be, I think, a 3:00 pitch, 3:00 first pitch, and it rained. It seems like it always rains on opening day for the Royals.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just does. But it was supposed to be like a 3:00 first pitch, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And really, the fans had no idea how long this rain delay was going to last. There really wasn't, Royals were really good at a lot of things, but that particular day, there wasn't really a whole lot of communication about how long this rain delay might last. And so by the time they finally got the first pitch in, which I believe was around 6:30, it was late. And a lot of the fans had left because they didn't know, again, if they were going to get a game in or not. Now, it would have been real easy for the Royals to say, well, about your tickets, I realize you paid a lot of money for those. It was a premium. It's opening day. But we got the game in. So if you left, that was on you. Mm-hmm. But instead, what the Royals did was before, I think it was pretty much right after that first pitch, they made an announcement that said, look, if you had a ticket to today's game and you left, we're going to honor that ticket for another game. Just bring it back and we'll take care of you. We're going to make sure that you are able to get into another game. They didn't have to do that, but instead they took it upon themselves to make their customers, their fans, feel valued, special, important, and as though what they were doing was designed solely with them in mind. And they garnered a ton of goodwill out of all this. There was a tremendous amount of publicity throughout the city in the newspaper and on the radio, and that's another advantage of delivering customer experience. This is something that people will talk about forever, and they'll tell their family and friends about it.
Well, that really runs across the board, right, to any industry, right. and maybe more so now than ever. And I do want to get into that and lessons learned in this pandemic, but let's
Sure.
talk a little bit about your industry beyond coaching and speaking and what really brought you to that point. 30 plus years in the wedding industry, right? And I always say when someone can be in an industry like that for so long, and I would include myself in that for 25 years in TV, you get some luck along the way, but you figure some things out, and does that make you the best at what you do? I don't know. That's up for other people to figure out. It's all subjective. But when you last that long, you're doing something right, or it's the right fit. So you really provide unique experiences, and I can't imagine the amount of pressure. I mean, I know, like, you look at me and view things the way I do them on TV and the pressure of that and whatever it might be, but I can think of something with more pressure than just performing in front of the camera. That's called pleasing the bride. It's a one-shot deal. And so you have specialized in that for a lot of years. And before we get to the pandemic and what you've learned and all of that, I just want to know what you've learned over these last 30 years that has helped you be among the best in the business.
Well, I don't know that I was among the best in the business. The couples I worked for thought I was one of the best, which was really important as far as what I'm doing. But yes, I learned, 30 years in the business, and actually overnight success took me 8 years of trying to figure out exactly what I was doing, because in those first 8 years that I was in business were just miserable, not doing anything right, and pretty much competing with everybody on price rather than on the experience that I was delivering for my couples. So yes, I would, brides and grooms, the wedding industry in itself is very customer centric. You have to be focused on the couple. You have to be focused on their family. You have to remember that the event that they're celebrating on that one special day is their one shot, and they're not going to get another opportunity at it, as you said just a few moments ago. This is it. So you have to do everything in your power to make certain that this one shot that they have is the best possible shot they're ever going to get. And that takes a lot of time and effort as far as getting to understand a couple, getting to know who they are, getting to appreciate what it is that they are all about, and actually developing a relationship with them of sorts. It's not just performing. I was in the entertainment portion of it, so I was a DJ, master of ceremonies, wedding entertainment director. But I had to develop a relationship with my couples in order for them to trust me, to know that I was going to do the things that they wanted or they needed me to do. And in order to do that, again, it comes back to, it's not just about me, it's about them. How can I make this the best possible shot they're going to get on that particular day? So it took some time to figure it out. And I love my couples, and I love the wedding industry. And it's funny because I decided in December of last year, after 30 years, that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to do something more. I wanted to get into public speaking, keynoting, and consulting. And I decided this would be the best year ever to change careers. But in the wedding industry, much like it is in the speaking industry right now, events are at a minimum. And I'm feeling for anybody who's in entertainment and public speaking, whether it's entertainment or in the wedding industry, anybody that normally would be in front of large numbers of people are all being impacted at this point. Weddings, you can't really do a whole lot virtually, but I'm seeing DJs and I'm seeing other wedding planners actually making it work virtually for them. So,
well, it's. Look, if you were still doing that or doing this, it's all been affected. I mean, and most of us, all of us in some form or another have been, right? I mean, I just got back to work last week. We got 3 games in the books. I mean, this would be like, half of a quarter of a football game's worth. But in this sprint to get 60 games in, we're just getting started, and we're just about to finish, and hopefully not finish sooner, because there's a outbreak, if people haven't seen today, with the Miami Marlins, which 3 days in or 4 days into Major League Baseball, 3 games for the Royals, and I think there's some serious concerns here. But I think that's the world that we're all living in. I mean, am I panicked that we're not going to finish the season? A little bit, but then again, I sit there and think, haven't I just done this for the last 4 months in some form? You've done it as a speaker, I've done it as a speaker, so it's just different. But I know that you had shared with me an article that you wrote that really focused on speaking fluent wow and the customer experience and customer service. And so I think the first question I would ask you is that how have those 30 years that you had in the entertainment industry prepared you for this massive curveball that is sent us? And so if you're talking and consulting with some of your clients, or you look at so many people that have been affected, or those that are watching right now, how do they roll with what I think is the biggest curveball we've ever been thrown?
Well, like you said, I mean, it's tough, but the thing and I spoke of relationships a few moments ago, and I think one of the ways you roll with it is to keep that relationship going with the people. Everyone is experiencing some height of anxiety right now. I don't think there's any of us that can say we're not feeling some sort of anxiety in this moment. There's so much uncertainty, but that doesn't mean that you still can't stay in contact with the people that do business with you. Not from the standpoint necessarily of trying to make a sale with them, but maybe in trying to provide them with information that's going to help them look a little bit further down the road, especially in the wedding industry. In the wedding industry, I mean, people are planning weddings a year to 2 years down the road. So you have ample opportunity as a wedding professional to be able to do something like that. But even in the service industry, let's say that normally you own a house cleaning service. This is a great time to stay in contact with your customers and provide them with content of value to them. Especially right now, how can you keep your home safe from the bacteria associated with COVID? What's some of the cleaning tips that we could provide you with to help you manage this time while you're at home? So it's part of what I've learned from this is that the relationships will continue far beyond just that initial sale. Or that initial contact. It continues forever, because those people are also going to be the people that come back to do business with you later. And they're going to be the folks that are going to refer you to their family and friends who are going to want to do business with you as well.
And they will remember the experience, going back to that customer experience. And correct me if I'm wrong here, customer experience doesn't have to involve an actual event
No,
or a sale or anything like that, right? It can be something as simple as picking up the phone and checking on someone.
it can be something as simple as saying hello and hello, Joel, calling you by name. It can be something as simple as saying, hey, Joel, really glad that you stopped in my business today. I hope that you come back real soon. It can be something as simple as saying, hey, Joel, how are your kids doing? I mean, all of these little things, you don't have to spend. Actually, most businesses don't have the budget to spend a ton of money to do something epic for their customers. Those little personal touches, though, can increase business excrementally. I don't even incrementally. That's the word I was looking for. Incrementally, just through a simple smile, which I know is hard to do with a mask now. I was looking around to see if I had a mask with a mask on, but you can see it in people's eyes if they're truly smiling and if they're happy to see you. So it doesn't take a lot. Just the little things will do.
By the way, I knew what you meant on excrementally, which might have an awful meaning. I'm not really sure, but I figured, my guest on Friday was Rex Hudler. So so at that point you're not speaking fluent wow, you're just speaking HUD.
Yeah. And the moon is a planet.
And the moon is a planet, and there's somewhere I could go with that, by the way. I'm not going to do it. I always have to try to filter myself. Well, who doesn't love HUD? Well, somebody, not everybody can love everyone, but he's truly amazing. So let's continue this thought a little bit, because to me, I have felt so much for the restaurant industry.
Absolutely.
You think about the entertainment theater industry, where they can't do anything right now.
Yeah.
But we saw pretty quickly some creativity coming, and then you start seeing these new norms too, Ron. Like, you pull up to restaurants now and they all have the little parking spots where you could pick up your food and you can get it on the app. And I know that some of that stuff existed before, but now it's just becoming completely normal. Or drive-through lines at places that didn't even have drive-throughs before. You look at Joe's in Joe's Kansas City, or the old Oklahoma Joe's, and suddenly you could call up and they've got somebody standing in the parking lot. You give them your name and they bring it out to you, and you don't even have to go in. And so it feels like there's so much opportunity here to do something new. You sent me a quote from Steve Jobs that said, everyone here has the sense that right now is one of those moments when we are influencing the future. Tell me more about that, because to me, I've noticed two ways to go: either sit and wait or move forward.
Yeah, I call this the business renaissance, because I honestly believe that this is an opportunity. The word pivot gets used a lot, but the word pivoting means it's a lateral move. It's not doing something. It's not taking that next giant step. Whereas, in a business renaissance, it's thinking ahead. It's thinking to what can I do next. These businesses that are doing these little things, like grocery stores and restaurants that are doing the curbside delivery or delivering to your home, or just all the little things that they're actually setting the bar. They're making doing business with them right now more accessible, more accommodating, and they're being far more appreciative than they've ever been in the past for customers coming to them, because we all need customers right now. I probably, like you, Joel, I've sat through a ton of webinars over the past couple of months, and I enjoyed one last month, and I wish I could remember the speaker's name. And he said, the thing that stuck out to me was, he was talking about experts, and he said everybody wants to think that they are that they're an expert at what they do. And if you Google experts, you get a ton of responses to the word expert in any particular field. So what we need right now, though, and what more people need right now, is visionaries. How are you going to be a visionary? How can you take everything that you know and start thinking ahead as to what else can I do with this? How far can I take this? I look at, we've been talking a little bit about weddings. I look at wedding photographers as an example. And there's a young lady here in Kansas City who took that next step, and it's knowing that she couldn't do weddings. She was doing front porch family portraits, inviting people to come out on their front porch to get their portrait taken. I mean, that's a little thing, but it's a big thing if it's going to help her business. I also know there's another photographer that's giving back to the community by doing headshots, because people now are also looking for jobs, and they need those headshots. So, a lot of this moving forward is, when you think about it as a visionary, it's not so much about how will this impact my business. It has to be more about how is this going to impact the community I live in? How is this going to benefit others? So often we worry about how much money we're going to make and how this is going to benefit us as a business, what our profit margins are going to be. But if you really want to pivot, I guess, but pivot at an upward angle, then you have to start thinking in terms of how will this benefit others? How can I help them? And if you start thinking in those terms, you're going to find ways that you'll not only benefit others, but you'll benefit yourself and your business as well.
Well, you said it took you a number of years to figure that out on the wedding circuit, right? Because you get so focused on making money. Look, we all want to make money, and we all want to be paid what is fair, and we want to not be taken advantage of. And so it is that constant wrestling of, what am I worth? When can I cut that? I don't want to give a deal every single time. And not that we all need to do everything for free right now, but getting back to what you said, when you could help someone else out, they will remember it. And guess what happens when they want those wedding pictures? Or guess what happens when they want whatever? Oh my gosh, they came out to our front porch and we got these amazing pictures. And you know what? We're tight on money right now, but it was affordable and it was doable. And I mean, I just went through that with a service that I just purchased, and I got in and I had an amazing experience, and the deal from the money side was really affordable. And then I said, I need more of this. I have to do this. So it makes sense, I think, when you're out there trying to help others. And it sounds like so many of us, that it took you a while to figure that out.
It does. I mean, I was trying to refer earlier to a comment I heard a comedian talking about. Comedians always, people say, oh, you're such overnight success. And what you find out, especially for some of the more popular, like a Jerry Seinfeld, as an example, it may have appeared as an overnight success with his television show, but I can guarantee you he worked a lot of years to get to that overnight success. It didn't just happen. And so we all make mistakes along the way. The challenge is to learn from those mistakes and move on. But also, on the topic of mistakes, right now is the perfect time to take risks, because we're all, as I said earlier, we're suffering a little bit of anxiety, but we're also all trying to navigate our way through this. What's going to be around the next corner? What's the future look like? None of us are really sure, but so now is a good time to say, you know what? I thought I wanted to try this before. Let me try it. The worst thing that could possibly happen with a risk is that it doesn't work out. But maybe you also learn some lessons from it. You go back to the drawing board, you rework it, and you go back out there and you try it again. If you're not making mistakes, you're not taking enough risk. That's just the way of the world. So I think that being focused on community, being focused on other people around you is always going to be to your benefit. And I'll give you one more quote here, one of my favorites from Simon Sinek. And he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big believer in that. People want to not just feel special and valued and important, they want to feel that they're a part of something special. And if you can make them feel that they're a part of something special, they're not only going to want to do business with you, but they're going to tell the world about how wonderful you were.
It's the reason why Simon Sinek is on my alerts every time he tweets. I get that message. You get some of the key pieces of the Royals and baseball on there, and Simon Sinek is on the alerts. Jennifer Dehan, along with a bit of what you've been talking about, sends this message in, or this question. I love the idea you've presented. The current climate is a business renaissance that should be embraced. I love that, Ron, too. What is a great first step that one can take to motivate from panic to prosperity? Because a lot of people, I don't know how many steps there are to this, but there is sort of that grieving process and that panic, and but you can't sit there. I know for me, I had a couple of days of panic when I realized that baseball wasn't coming back, and they said initially
Yeah.
2 weeks, and I did know like there's no way it's going to be 2 weeks, and I went into a funk, not deep depression or anything like that, but I know that there's so much of that going on, and as you talk about the fact that this is such a good time to take chances, that's still something that's out of a lot of people's comfort zones too. So again, to Jennifer's point here, uh, what's that first step to go from panic to prosperity?
I think, yeah, first off, let's just go ahead and concede that, yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is a tough time. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are not going to make it, but there are also a lot of businesses that can do something more. And if you have, here's a couple of ideas. First, do some research. I spent quite a bit of time, almost every day I'm online, and I'm looking at all the businesses that are that have been able to do something new, different, and exciting in their business to get beyond the pandemic. As an example, here in Kansas City, there are a couple of distilleries that they immediately started making. They switched over to making hand sanitizer. I mean, not everybody's going to be able to do something like that, but they took that. I mean, it would have been easy to say, well, we're not going to be able to do anything, but they took that next step and they did something like that. So research businesses in the area and around you and across the country and see what everybody's doing to kind of make these shifts and these transitions. Can you go on, if you own a gym as an example, and I know some of the gyms have reopened, but there's been a lot of videos from people that manage and own gyms doing exercise videos on YouTube and on Instagram. If you have a staff, sit down with your team and brainstorm. What else can we do? We is always smarter than me. So if you have people around you that you trust, sit down with them and say, okay, so what, even if it's not a team, even if it's just family, what else do you know about me that maybe I could do to help others in this situation? How could I keep my business afloat? So I think it's just a matter, and then it's a matter of just saying, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to, I'll let it simmer for, a month or so. No, if you're going to sit down and you really want to get something done, you just got to go do it. Yeah. And again, even if it means taking a chance, if you fail at it, learn from it, redo it, and go back and try again.
I'm curious because you haven't had to make this decision, and you talked about some of those wedding photographers. So there actually is a nice pivot, right? Because they can provide value. It doesn't have to be at a wedding.
Right.
Put your DJ hat on for a moment, and you have these big events planned, and suddenly they're having to hold off because you don't really need a DJ if you're not having a crowd. I guess you could have the two of them having their first dance, and it could be like the two of them and a couple members of the family and Ron Ruth playing that romantic song. But what would you be doing right now?
Well, a couple of things. I've had the pleasure of interviewing a couple of DJs that have taken the parties to the streets. They rigged their pickups and their vans or whatever with sound systems, and they go out on the street and they park on a curb, and they social distance. You have to stay in your yard, but somebody's having a birthday in this neighborhood, so they go out and they perform, and they play for 30 minutes or so. But the point is that they get people involved and they're having a great time. That's from a party standpoint. From a wedding standpoint, I have a friend of mine, and I don't want to give away too much of where he is so people will jump on this, but I thought this was awesome. He's working on doing 360 virtual weddings. So basically, even if it's a small group, 10, 15 people, he'll have a 360-degree camera set up so that people can log in and watch through Zoom or whatever platform he chooses to use, but to be able to watch from all angles of everything that's taking place. So they can see everything that's happening. And that's a phenomenal step to saying, I realize that we can't do the big weddings anymore. So what can we do to bring, if we can't bring you to the wedding, how can we bring the wedding to you? And I thought this
Remarkable.
was a phenomenal idea. And I know he's still working on it, but I hope that he'll have it up and running fairly soon.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is just, I think that there are a lot of people that could be watching or in whatever industry they're in saying, well, yeah, this is really inspirational and this is great, but it wouldn't work for me. And you answered it the way, and I didn't know what the answer would be. I just knew you would have an answer.
Right.
You answered it in a way that I think is a great reminder to all of us that there is a move to make.
Right.
You got to get a little creative. You got to have some guts here and try some things. Who knows? You might innovate something that becomes the next big trend too.
Right. Absolutely. And who knows, if you innovate that next big trend, that could have a payoff to it as well. So, it's just a matter of, these are the ideas I have. So let's move forward and see what we can do with these ideas. But again, if you're by yourself, if you're a sole proprietor like I am, then I have a support team around me of friends and peers and others who I can sit down with and say, how can I take this idea and what do you think of this idea? What else? What am I missing? What else can I do with this idea to maybe be successful with it?
So interesting, so much opportunity, a lot of panic, anxiety, and concerns. Understandably so. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime, hopefully a once in a lifetime experience, and it's not one that is over yet. And I think, I don't know yet if we're going to have to stop giving the message of take this seriously. I feel like more and more people are starting to take it seriously. Unfortunately, it almost needs to hit home before some people do. But I mean, it's affecting everyone's lives. I don't care what you believe in; it's affecting everyone.
Well, and for what it's worth, and on a kind of a sad note, I have friends in the Seattle area that I did a virtual meeting with on Thursday, and before our meeting was over, the state has shut down all weddings beginning after the first weekend in August. No more weddings for an indeterminate period of time. Wow. So that means people that had brides and grooms, people who had made plans to travel, all the wedding professionals that were involved in all those weddings. And it's because we need people to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's
really simple.
Yeah. I'm a huge Disney freak. I want to go back to Disney World. Please wear your mask so I can do that. So
we were there in March on vacation. And,
you just beat it.
No, we did not. We just missed it.
Oh, okay.
And so we got there. We had driven down to Florida, really the day that everything was starting to close down. And then they, about 2 or 3 days before, they shut down. As a matter of fact, my wife and daughter and I left the condo and went to walk around some of the shops, on the outskirts of the park. Because it was still considered open. We were looking for some desserts to bring back to the condo, and they said they were open. By the time we got there, they had decided to shut down because no one was there. We were walking around. They have all like the fancy shops and restaurants and all that type of stuff on the outskirts, and it was like a ghost town. I mean, it was weird. There we walked around for a half hour. It was good to be outside and get some fresh air. No one was wearing masks yet, but we probably saw 15 people. And it's just, and that was the very early stages of it. So I'll tell you what, to drive down to Florida and see what the country looked like driving down versus what it looked like driving back, everything that was open on the way down there. And it was just, hey, make sure you use some hand sanitizer. Suddenly it was closed. So, the world is changing. It continues to change. And we'll wrap it up with this, Ron, just that reminder about WOW, speaking fluent WOW, and how that can help people right now in terms of customer experience and their pivots. Or I like what you said too, not so much a pivot, but a leap forward.
Well, and WOW actually has a meaning. WOW, the W stands for wrap your customers in a warm, fuzzy blanket of care. In other words, making certain that they always feel as though they're a part of your business, an extended family, if you will. O means obsess over the details, the littlest details that most every other business is going to overlook. And in order to do that, just walk through your business in your customer's shoes and look for those opportunities to make the wow experience even better, or look for those flashpoints that can detract from that. From the wow experience. And then the final wow stands for walk your why. In other words, we talked a little bit about Simon Sinek and purpose is, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Walk your purpose. What is your purpose? If your purpose is only to make money, then you're going to find it really hard, especially right now, to be able to survive this pandemic. If your purpose is to be of service to others, and what can I do to help make your life better, and how can I help make my community better, then you're going to have a far better chance of succeeding in getting through this. So again, it's just the language of the high spending, loyal, raving customers every business wants to attract most.
Wrap, obsess, and walk. Wrap them in that blanket, obsess over the details, and walk the why. Remember that those are certainly 3 very key ingredients to being successful in whatever field you're in. If people want to get a hold of Ron, they can do so at ronruth.com. You can learn more about him. A wealth of knowledge there. He's also a keynote speaker, so if you're looking for a speaker, and he can do that like so many of us, he can do that virtually for you too. So check out Ron. I appreciate the insight. Really, really interesting, uplifting, and I think hopefully it'll give a lot of people some inspiration and hope as they, let's get them speaking that fluent wow too. But Ron, thanks so much for spending the time today.
Thank you, and best of luck to you and to the Royals.
Let's hope that we can get this thing in. I'm not so sure, but we will be there. If we're playing baseball, we will be there. Yes, fingers crossed, absolutely. All right, that is my friend Ron Ruth, and great to be able to visit with him. And that's going to do it for another episode of Rounding the Bases Live, presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust, coming to you from the Kansas City Audiovisual Studios, kcav.com. They can take care of the little guys like me, or offices any size. You name it, they can do it. So KCAV, appreciate them, and my friends at Enterprise Bank and Trust, hashtag no stopping you. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Have a great Monday, everyone, and see you soon.